Hello and welcome to Healthy Mind, Healthy Life with your host Avik. This podcast is all about exploring the latest research, sharing personal stories, and providing personal tips for improving our mental health and well-being. Each episode will be joined by experts in the field of mental health, as well as individuals who have experienced the transformative power of a healthy mind firsthand. Together, we will dive into a range of topics from managing stress and anxiety to building resilience and cultivating happiness. So, join us on this journey to discover new ways to take care of our minds, bodies, and souls. And let's work together to create a healthier, happier world one episode at a time. So, let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I'm your host Avik, and today we have a truly remarkable guest with us, Doctor Peter Cullen. So welcome to the show, Dr. Peter.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Lovely. So, Dr. Peter, before we start our conversation, I'd love to mention this to all of our listeners that Dr. Peter has an impressive background, like holding a doctorate in counseling psychology and the master's in theological studies, as well as a master's in counseling psychology. So it's dual master. So you can understand with whom we are talking today. So his journey began as a police officer with the Port Authority in New York and NJ, New Jersey Police Department, and he has since dedicated his life to helping the first responders and the law enforcement professionals achieve better mental and the physical health. So, Dr. Peter has co authored 6 influential books for law enforcement professionals and focusing on the integrating mindfulness, resilience, and the meditation into daily life to promote a more sustainable and healthy lifestyle. So his latest series, like Operational Longevity, includes a comprehensive textbook, personal journal, personal stories, and the meditation, and a 21-day call to action coin challenge, and a first responders guide to mindfulness and the wellness. That's really awesome. So, why to wait? Join us as Dr. Peter has in his insights, will share his insights on the impact of stress on the body, the importance of the mind-body connection, and how can we can all benefit from living a more balanced life through the mindfulness and the resilience. So, this episode promises to be enlightening and deeply valuable for anyone who is interested in enhancing their well being. So, welcome to the show again, Dr. Peter.
Thank you very much. You gave a nice summary of my life there. I like that.
Thank you so much. So Dr. Peter, if you can all share, giving us an overview of what operational longevity is and what inspired you to develop this program.
Well, I created Operation Longevity probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and it was really born out of I happened to be at a gym on a treadmill, and I said, "What can I create for the law enforcement professional, also the first responder,
Yeah.
to help them deal with the stresses in their life?" Most of the time, people, and I don't know if this is your experience or not, but people start out with a determination they're going to do this and do that for themselves, feel better. Quite frequently, it's due to a medical scare. People then go to the gym and start working out, watch their diet, but people don't stick with it. And my question to myself was, why do people keep failing? And I think the expectations of the individual working out and taking better care of themselves is unrealistic vis-a-vis the messages we get from the media and people telling us we should do this or should do that. So I created Operation Longevity, and I made it very easy for people to adapt to it. It's not technically difficult or challenging. And I looked at the three components of the human spirit, and that would be the physical, psychological, and the spiritual component of the individual. And you have to treat all components. You cannot just treat the physical, and meanwhile, the psychological or the spiritual or emotional part of the individual goes left unattended. So I created Operation Longevity looking at it as a trifold entity.
Mm-hmm.
And the 21-day call to action coin challenge, which is really probably, in my opinion, one of my better books because of its simplicity. And I used a focus group with the Port Authority Police Department. I used 12 recruits in the academy. And for 3 weeks, we met for an hour once a week. And each week they took the different components, the physical, psychological, and the spiritual. The core piece to that is that each day they had to perform a random act of kindness and write it down in the book. So they would be mindful taking it out of the mind and putting it and concretizing what they did. And that random act of kindness has to go unnoticed. So you're not doing it so people say, oh, aren't they a wonderful person?
Mm-hmm.
You lose the whole essence of what it's about. So I gave them 40 examples in the book of the different random acts of kindness. So I didn't have to think too hard. And when we met, they talked about the random acts of kindness. They loved doing them.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose, why that's so important, is that after 12 to 15 days, the brain starts changing and eliciting the positive hormones of oxytocin and serotonin. And the person starts feeling better about themselves. Now, with first responders, is a high incidence of suicide. And my theory, though it's not scientifically proven, is the fact that if a person feels better about themselves, less likely are they to do harm to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the genesis and the basis of Operation Longevity. It's about change, and the tagline for Operation Longevity is Operation Longevity changes the person.
Okay. So Cheta. Hi. Yes. Yeah, please continue. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. Everything went blank on my the
No,
lights went out and everything.
no
So
issues.
I apologize for that. I don't know what happened. All the lights went out.
Yeah.
So I guess I was just talking about the three components of Operation Longevity,
Okay.
and that tagline is Operation Longevity changes the person, and the person then changes the world. And my belief is that we're in a very desperate way today in society. I think people are very confused. They're stressed out to the max. Financially, people are struggling. I know probably in India, I don't know how it is. I've never been there, but I think people are struggling day to day, just try to make ends meet for their families. And with Operation Longevity, if the first person feels better about themselves, chances are going to be good that they're going to be better to the people around them. And that's my belief and the purpose of Operation Longevity.
Exactly. So, thank you for sharing this, and also, How can individuals integrate the mindfulness and resilience practices into their daily lives?
Well, the resilience part,
Mhm.
we'll start with the mindfulness piece. That came on the scene uh, a number of years ago, and it's a very simple process
Yeah.
that it's just being aware of your senses and how they interface with your surroundings.
Okay.
So many people, including myself, that I are concerned about the future or worry about the past and with regrets and the should haves and the could haves. Very few of us live in the present moment. And it's where that present moment, that's where the mindfulness comes into play. That, being aware of the sounds, the smells, the tastes that you're experiencing. When you think about it, how much we're missing in our lives due to the anticipation of what happens if down the road, how am I going to be able to do this? Um, I can't wait for that vacation 3 months away. Well, that 3 months away, that whole 3 months, you're not experiencing the joy and living of that particular time.
Hmm.
So practicing mindfulness and an awareness of, I'll often speak with the recruits, the police recruits, and say to them, what did you have for lunch today?
Hmm.
How do you remember? How did it taste? Yeah. And they look at me like I have three heads on me. But I said, that's really what mindfulness is in a very simple form.
Hmm.
And by practicing mindfulness, it then, that's where the psychological and the physical come in, it changes the person from within, from a physiological point of view, where their blood pressure changes, their cholesterol will decrease. And that's clinically proven. We know that science has researched this, and we recognize that there's tremendous benefits in living a more mindful life.
Hmm.
It's just doing it, like Operation Longevity.
Hmm.
It's doing it, and that's why I had to make it simple for people. Otherwise, they're going to quit. They're going to get discouraged and not continue on and commit to the program. The resilience part, that if people build a stronger uh, concept of what it is to feel better about themselves physically and psychologically and spiritually, the resilience is just simply being able to bounce back from adverse experiences. And with first responders, and especially because they're confronted with so much uh, difficulty throughout their days, that they have to learn to become more resilient and be able to bounce back from different situations that they're in. With trauma and the whole post traumatic stress issue with first responders and veterans, that if they don't start integrating some type of resilience in their life
Hmm.
over a long period of time, it's the trauma is going to have an adverse effect, the secondary trauma.
Hmm.
So that the building the resilience and how we do that also is from I teach the meditation in the academy.
Hmm.
And when I first started out, people weren't doing that in law enforcement or first responder world.
Hmm.
And I introduced it with the Port Authority and also on the federal level here with our government agencies I worked with. And it was foreign to them.
Hmm.
And one class I had 250 recruits in, and I walked in, I looked at them and I'm saying, I don't know how this is going to go over, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. So I did it, and I opened my eyes before I conclude the meditation and the deep breathing, and they were all sitting up straight with their eyes closed with a very relaxed feeling.
Hmm.
Now, they can walk out of that room and never do it again. But I feel as though at least I've introduced them to a a model of better living and having them understand that doing a simple thing like deep breathing can simply reduce their blood pressure. Now, when they have to testify and when they have to go to court and testify, I tell them, do the deep breathing before you go in. And what you'll see is that you'll feel a sense of relaxation come over you and you'll be better at testifying in court. So there are little techniques like that with the mindfulness and the resilience.
Mm.
But resilience, some people are more resilient than other people. And the studies have shown that there's a gene, potential gene, for people who have it are more resilient than people who do not have that gene. So it's just a curious aspect of the study and the research they're doing these days on that. So
Okay, okay. So, I mean, also, if you can tell us about the 21-day challenge to the call to action coin challenge. So, how it helps individuals to build and maintain the healthy habits.
can you just repeat the question one more time, sir? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So, I was asking about your 21-day call to action coin challenge. So, like how it helps individuals to build and maintain the healthy habits.
There, because it deals with, and the 21 days go very quickly.
Mm,
And I think it's not only for law enforcement, but
mm,
it can be used for the general population as well.
mm,
And I give them an action word each day.
mm,
They have to do the random act of kindness. Make note of that.
mm,
I introduce them to three different types of meditations or deep breathing,
uh,
and each week they try a different one, and I go over that with them in the academy.
mm,
And what they find is, with those 3 weeks, what I've given them,
mm,
it's a wonderful formula to live a more healthy and sustainable life.
mm,
And really, and again, feeling better about themselves. The curious part of this 21-day program is in law enforcement and in the military. It started with veterans, the challenge coin. And the challenge coin is a good sized coin. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they they love them. They love getting them. And the one I have for Operation Longevity is quite beautiful. And they love getting the coin.
mm,
It simply represents a sense of achievement. They've
mm,
done it. Now they can identify when they see that coin in their
mm,
case, they're going to remember what they learned. And again, as I said earlier, they may not ever do any of this stuff again in their lives. But I run into recruits that are now police officers for a number of years, and I've been with the Port Authority. The union is now 35 years, so I've trained a lot of people and have become familiar with a lot of people, and they'll often reference the meditation, the deep breathing, or the challenge coin. I ran into someone at Ground Zero the other day, and he goes, "Yeah, I was part of the focus group."
mm.
And there were only 12, but there's so many people that I encounter. I couldn't remember it, but he still remembered the whole deep breathing and the random acts of kindness. So personally, I think it's a wonderful program,
Mm,
very simple, and the accomplishments. Again, it's only 21 days, and right now I'm writing the Operation Longevity Creed, and there are 12 beliefs, and I am going to present it on 9/11 down in Washington. That this will be, if you do these for 21 days,
mm,
just read through it each day and reflect on it.
mm.
After 21 days, I'm going to guarantee people that they're going to feel much better about their lives and they're going to be much happier than they were before they started the 21-day creed. So that's going to be started in September 11th. So that it's all about doing something positive in your life.
Mm.
To We can all talk a good game. There are millions of books, self-help books out there in the market, and it's one of the biggest sellers of books. So it tells you that people are looking for some venue and vehicle to feel better about their lives, simply because they're so stressed out.
Mm.
And so that's why I think Operation Longevity is wonderful. Not because I created it, but I think it's
Mm.
a good thing.
Definitely, definitely. So, also like you have worked extensively with the first responders post 9/11. So, how does Operation Longevity address the trauma and aid in recovery?
Well, dealing with the trauma, one of the things I encourage first responders to look at is an issue that we're addressing right now. And I don't know how successful we are in it, but we're doing it is to address stigma, the whole problem of stigma. Stigma, especially with law enforcement, is it's the public and the personal stigma. The public is how the public perceives you if you're getting mental health counseling or seeking help. And the personal is how you feel about yourself, about what people are thinking. And that, in fact, is the reason why people who are first responders fail to get the help that they need. Their fear of getting brought in by their bosses or being perceived as being weak and not being able to perform their job. Now, with that being said, I try to teach, and in the books, I have a chapter on stigma and try to address the stigma and encourage them to get the help that they might need. And it's not a personal flaw. It's simply that everybody can benefit by speaking to somebody. The importance, in my opinion, the importance for first responders is to find somebody who is competent in that area, who understands your work. Some people are clueless, and to me, you're sort of just wasting time then, because often people get caught up in the stories. And people, by that I mean the psychologist or the social worker, whoever, and they miss the mark there. So it's important to speak with someone who probably has a little knowledge of the type of work that you do. And really, again, that's what Operation Longevity is about. It's about treating the physical, psychological, and spiritual, looking at the whole component rather than just addressing, say, the psychological. That's good, but you have these other two areas here. It's like a stool with three legs. If you take one off, the stool is going to fall over. It's not going to be able to hold the person. So I say you have to treat, especially the spiritual part. And that's where I integrate my background in theology into my work as well, and try to introduce it where appropriate, not to force it on anyone. And I tell people it's not about religion. It's about a spiritual understanding of where you are in this universe and how you interface with your surroundings. Once you can come to some understanding of that, and I start my day going out to the bay. After we finish our interview today, I'll be going out to the bay by the ocean where I live, and I keep a gratitude journal. And even if I write down 5 things that I'm grateful for, my health, the beautiful scenery that I'm witnessing, the peace of the morning. And I do that even though I keep repeating the same things. I do that because it calls me to mind of things that are greater than myself and being grateful for the world around me. Now, it doesn't mean that, I walk around with this eternal bliss of happiness. I mean, I could be pulling out from the bay and somebody cut me off and I lose it. So, but I look at it this way: I'm a work in progress, and I think that's what we all have to do. So,
wow, that's really really lovely one, I'd say. Yeah. And what are your future plans for operational longevity? Like any new initiatives or projects on the horizon?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm writing the Operation Longevity Creed. I'm going away to a retreat center next week for 3 days. So if I stay home, I'm never going to get it done. So I go there, do the writing. I need to get that completed. I am going to introduce on operationlongevity.org, the website, a platform for first responders, law enforcement, to have a forum. And this way they can communicate with one another, and I can monitor that. And then maybe have a component where there'll be a chat. If they have questions for me, I'll be able to help them out with that. That's going to be, and I'm developing a personal guide
Mhm.
for the individual. It'll be maybe 40, 50 pages, but it'll be a workbook guide. And this way they can work on that. And again, I look at it this way, not to force it on anyone, but it's just another tool for them
Mhm.
and another way for them to reflect on where they are in this life. And, law enforcement, they retire after 20, 25 years. So they're still pretty young. And my goal is to get them into retirement so they live a healthy and sustainable life and to experience happiness in their life and not carry the burden around like so many people do today. And I think Operation Longevity is a vehicle for people to achieve this happiness and to find it, but you have to work at it. It's not, people say if they win the lottery, they'd be so happy. Yeah, for a time being, and then you're going to be hit with hundreds of friends you never knew you had, and you're not going to have a life. And so money isn't the answer. It makes things easier, but it's not the answer. Happiness comes is from internal. You have to be able to feel at peace within yourself. And once you can achieve that, that's where you'll experience that sustainable happiness.
Understood.
So
That's lovely. So, great. And also, finally, what one piece of advice you would like to share with our listeners who just beginning their journey towards more mindful and resilient life?
just keep things simple, and do as much as you can, read as much as you can, find quiet time in your day to take a few minutes out of your day. Most people don't do that. Take a few minutes out of your day, do your deep breathing, experience your surroundings, and do a random act of kindness each day. It can be a very small thing, but it's opening a door for somebody at a convenience store and they say thank you, and you've done something nice for someone. It doesn't have to be huge. Just do something each day and be mindful of that, of what you've done. You don't need recognition. You're doing it, it's taking it off you, but giving it to somebody else. So
Sure. Lovely. Great. So, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Healthy Mind and Healthy Life, dear listeners. A big thank you to Dr. Peter for sharing his profound insights and experiences with us today. So, we hope that our discussion on operational longevity has inspired you to incorporate mindfulness and resilience into your daily life for a healthier and more balanced existence. So, if you find value in today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. And do not forget to share this episode with friends and family who might benefit from Dr. Peter's wisdom. So, until next time, remember to take care of your mind, body, and keep striving for a healthier and more fulfilling life. So, this is your host, Avik, signing off from Healthy Mind and Healthy Life. Take care and be well. Thank you so much.
thank you.